Okay, folks, welcome to the Mid-Ulster Amateur Radio Club Tuesday night lecture. This must be one of 7 now, I think we're on. Week 7, week 8 maybe, possibly. So tonight we have the pleasure, I would say tonight with the company of Philip, but with the pleasure of Steve. M1ACB, the general manager of the RSGB, with us this evening. If you're joining for the first time, you're most welcome. And if you're not joining for the first time and you're a regular attender, welcome back. I am Dave, 2I0SJV, and this is the Tuesday night lecture series. And if you're watching us via the YouTube channel, good day to you too. So, welcome. If you want to, anyone who is watching on the Zoom here, look at any of the other lectures we have on the YouTube, just go to YouTube and search for MUARC, Mid-Ulster Amateur Radio Club, but use the letters MUARC, and that will bring you to our channel. We're usually the top result there when you search for us. So, without further ado, as he takes a drink of whatever's in that mug there, Philip, I'm going to hand over to you, and I think you're going to kick us off with a bit of a presentation. But before actually you do that, maybe you'll take a few seconds there, introduce yourself, and Steve, same as yourself before the presentation starts, introduce yourselves there, and tell us who you are and what you do and everything else. And then, Philip, you can go over to the presentation.
Thank you. I will, as soon as I can find the presentation, and put it on my desktop. Your big pictures covering the desktop.
You should be able to unmute yourself there as well, Steve, just whenever you're ready there. So,
Steve, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and give a wee bit of history, then we'll do the whole Q&A afterwards to try and get this.
Evening, folks. Steve Thomas, M1ACB, and as Dave said, General Manager of the RSGB for the last 4 and a bit years, I think, something like that, 4 years and a couple of months. So based in Bedford, our offices are in Bedford in England, and I'm currently locked down. I live over in Suffolk really, but I'm staying in St Neots, just up the road from Bedford at the moment. Been here all the way through the lockdown. The office is closed. We'll talk about a bit more about that later. So I'm really pleased to join you. Philip said that he was going to give you a bit of a presentation for Region 8, and I said that would help me no end, because then we can use his slides and I can just help with the Q&A and things like that. So I haven't prepared anything. That, for me, that's sometimes better, because rather than giving you just what I want to tell you, I can react to the sort of things that you want to ask, right? Rather than me just talk at you, because that gets a little bit boring. And so I've joined a few clubs recently, so you might just hear the same things again. So it's easier if we work from your questions, to be honest, in my section. But I'll tell you some of the latest stuff that's been going on.
I would hold fire on that, Steve.
Okay?
Hold fire on that.
Oh yeah, I wasn't going to do it now. I'm just waiting for you to get your act together.
What can you see at the minute?
You.
Ah, for damn sake.
That's why I kept talking, because I was waiting for the slides to appear.
Working with 2 screens. What can you see now?
You aren't sharing anything yet, Philip?
Right, hold on, bear with me.
The saying "old dogs and new tricks" or something comes to mind there.
Doing a presentation with the 2 screens is a bit awkward. Hold on.
Yep.
I want to share screen 2, screen 1. Are you seeing a presentation now?
There we go.
Right. So if I hit, are you seeing the main slide now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. Thanks for filling in. So most of you will know, and Steve already has introduced himself, that I am the regional representative for Region 8, Region 8 being Northern Ireland. And we also have on the call to join the Q&A later and talk about some of the current things that are happening. Steve Thomas, the General Manager. Has this been recorded, Dave?
At the moment, yes.
Okay, I'll be careful what I say. Steve used to be a member of the regional team. I was going to say Steve used to be a member of the regional team 5 years ago or so, and was the secretary to the regional forum, and then the job come up. Steve applied, and thankfully Steve got the job. Good man. So I used to be here, and Steve was, well, we were both here, but he was the secretary, I was the chair of the thing, and then Steve went way up here, you know, so he gives me the orders now. Not through. So, guys, I'm going to go straight on the presentation of a few slides to go through. Some of you may have seen part of this presentation before, some of you wouldn't. I will make no apologies at this stage for the first 6 slides. I'm going to bang a message through to everybody here, and the first 6 slides explain that, and I make no apologies for that. If anybody wants to ask the question, I'll ask you to leave it to the end of the presentation. Take a note if you want, or refer back to it, and we'll know what you're talking about. Because we want to get through the presentation as quick as possible. We don't want it to be too formal. We want to have a chat, a Q&A, and then just a casual chat and a bit of crack and that. So it's not a formal, it might look a formal presentation, but it's not meant to be. And by no means will it be death by PowerPoint, not on my part anyway. And if it is, you've all permission to help me a kick in the backside the next time you see me, because I cannot stand death by PowerPoint. So, first slide here is introduce myself and Steve, and it says there that the RSGB regional and national, because I normally the presentations normally, but the RSGB is your national society, and it represents you regionally, nationally, and internationally. And what I normally say to clubs is, are you a member of the RSGB? You know something? It makes no difference to me one iota, and Steve will probably know a few people in the RSGB might slap me for saying that. We are all members of the amateur community, and no, Steve will shake his head here, knowing I bang on all the time about the amateur community, the amateur community. The RSGB is there not just to represent members, it represents the amateur community in the UK. So we represent the regionally, nationally, and internationally, as I said. And I always say at meetings and stuff, if we don't stop saying members, 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 you'll never get new members. We are there to represent, and we do represent the whole community. But there are a lot of benefits to being a member. I will just finish that statement with that. There are benefits to being a member. Okay. News and events, very, very important part of the society. If any's ever see RADCOM, or if you don't see RADCOM, if you're a member of the club should really be getting the affiliated clubs newsletter each month. That affiliated clubs newsletter can be shared with members of the club, but please don't, and I've had to ask 1 or 2 people in the past, do not share it on social media and whatnot unless it's a closed group. It's for clubs only. And that's a benefit. It's one of the benefits for clubs. You will get a lot of information on there about what's happening in all areas, current things that are going on with the society nationally, and things that are happening nationally. If you're a member club and you don't see it, ask your club to sign up to it, ask your club secretary, ask them to sign up for it and share it at meetings or whatever if they don't. So this is various ways of getting news and events to you, and then I'll tell you how you get your news and events on there. So we also have a JOTA Facebook group. Now the RSGB don't, Region 8 do. It's not an official RSGB group. It's a Region 8 GI on the air, and some of you will have heard of that. There's quite a good bit of information shared there. If you're on Facebook, go and join the group, GI on the air. You have the GB2RS news readings, which are every Sunday. And from memory, and I may be wrong, correct it, they're only on a Sunday. We do have GB2RS news readings in the province. We have an 80-metre reading, we have a 2-metre reading, 77s reading, we have a DMR reading on a Sunday night. But the schedule's on the RSGB website, and you can find out the schedule there. We actually have a couple of news readers on the call this evening. And there's good information if you are a member on the RSGB website under /members, where you'll have to log in. So to get your news item or whatever you want, something's happening next week, let's say something's happening Sunday, Monday, Wednesday next week, you need to get an email into radcom@rsgb.org.uk by 10 o'clock on a Thursday morning. It needs to be in by 10 o'clock because there's a lot of work has to go on in the background to get the schedule out of this script and all ready. And only email it to radcom at RSGB. No longer GB2RS at RSGB. Radcom is the only email you use for the news readings and for Radcom. So you can see a picture of this, of this month's affiliated newsletter. So I've already spoken about submitting the information to Radcom. Basically, I'm not going to read through them. I don't do death by PowerPoint. The slides are up there. You need to supply your name, or club name, and the reason. So you will see a wee sample in the next slide. If it's for the news reading, keep it short and sweet. Even if it's for the around your region section of Radcom, keep it short and sweet. If you are sending something for Radcom for publication, please do not embed photographs into a Word document or into a PDF or anything. Please, just a plain Word or a plain text document, separate pictures, separate images. And the deadlines are on the website. I've already spoke about the deadline for the news service on a Sunday, and I'll throw up the deadlines here in a couple of minutes. But again, go to the RSGB website /Radcom. Some people say the website's very hard to navigate. I know the website, I know where some stuff is in the website, but what I still do, I go to the website and go to the main page, and I go to the search bar and type in what I'm looking for, and the links come up. It's easy. If there's a search bar on the website, it's the easiest way to navigate any website. Use it. But please submit your information before deadlines. So, deadlines for Radcom. You will see if you want it in the September Radcom, which actually comes out in August, same as all publications, you need to have it in 15 days' time, by the 22nd of July. That's the same with every publication. September's actually comes out in August, but you need to have it in by a certain date or mid-July. It normally works out about a week or so after Radcom hits your floor, basically your mat. So we should see Radcom in the middle of this month. That reminds me,
let me just say at that point, yes. Radcom goes to press tomorrow, so Wednesday. So we're on the week for going to press, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Absolute focus on everything on the page. If we haven't done some of it the week before, it'll go to press electronically at the end of Wednesday. That's hit the button, and then we expect the first Radcoms, if you're really, really lucky, to be the next Wednesday. So a week Wednesday is when it should arrive. You'll probably see it Thursday, maybe Friday. Some of the very early ones sneak in.
Yeah, this part of the UK, it could be the Friday or Saturday sometimes before it's doorsteps. Yeah. Or some people get it on the Wednesday and some of us don't get it the Saturday. It's just whatever way they distribute it.
And we're very much in the hands of the Postal Service for that.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of challenges with that the first month of lockdown. But we think it's got better since.
I still remember them nightmares, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a bad
one. My rule was going and looking, I put the dates in my calendar and I know where to go on the website to look, but my rule is Radcom hits my door next Thursday. I think to myself, if I am to go into the next publication, I have a week to get it done. That's my way of remembering. But the dates are there, the dates are on the website, and even on Radcom, if you get a paper copy of Radcom, and the around your region section, the dates are there too. So, and there's always very little news on Radcom from Region 8, and I want to encourage anybody who's a member of clubs, get their clubs to put on information. And it can be as simple as that example I have there. As simple as that. West Rowan ARC, so Mid-Ulster ARC, Region 8, Dave, 2I0SGB. I nearly said MI0SGB. Dave nearly upgraded your license there. A contact number,
yes,
contact
please.
email.
Yes, please.
A contact number, a contact email address, and just the date. 10th October, meeting night. 12th of October, shack night. 15th of October, barbecue at George's. 29th of October, party at Q's. As simple as that. That's all you need to get information into Radcom, and that means Region 8 appears in Radcom every month, because there was a period there it wasn't appearing, and I kept complaining to the editor. Alain, why is Region 8? Somebody goes to look up my details, they're not there. you need to submit the information. So we try to do that. And there is an archive of publications there. You will see the cover of the May Radcom there. Steve will talk more about that later and why that went to everybody. Yes, you will, Steve. Because I like the information to be accurate and correct, and I might just make a wee mistake.
Right.
So instead of making no excuses for these first 6 slides, guys, there's no reason not to know what's going on in amateur radio within the UK. You have your GB2RS news readings you can listen to. You can download the script from the website. You can listen to them. You can even go to the Geoto website and listen to the recording of the DMR news. And there is a live news section on the RSGB website. So it's RSGB, again, /live. Our Twitter feed's there. Our YouTube channel links are there. Our Facebook feed's there and whatnot. So that tells you, and you can scroll down, tells you what's going on. There's no reason not to know what's going on. Right, events. If you have an event, even if it's a Tuesday night lecture series, get it up on the events planner, please. Club logs in with the club details. Go to events, put in your details of your events. Skip out wee bits because it's really meant for. It's not really meant for rallies, but it's laid out for rallies. And as you can see, when the events planner is well populated in the UK, it's well populated in Northern Ireland because I do bang on to clubs. Get their events on. Now that's not current. You go and look at the events planner now because a lot of events are cancelled. But that's what it can look like for Northern Ireland. It shows there is stuff happening in Northern Ireland. I used to hear about 4 or 5 years ago, nothing ever happens in Northern Ireland. Used to piss me off. But please use the events planner. Another thing a club can do online is Clubfinder. Get your details on the Clubfinder. Make sure your secretary has the login details. If there's an issue or if any club has an issue with their login details, contact me and we'll get it sorted out for you. It's not rocket science. Get on there. Get their club details and get the details up to date because that's the same details the society holds. So if somebody rings from Northern Ireland or even just across the border looking for a club close to Portadown, if your details are not correct on Clubfinder, the society is not going to have your correct details and will be giving out an out-of-date email address or phone number. So please, 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 especially when you have AGMs or officers change, update and make sure your details are correct on Clubfinder, please. It is vitally important. Now, here's the mug shots. Here's the retrobates from Region 8. On the website again, there is a page with the Region 8 team. I eventually got everybody's photographs. They're not anyway as nice as the photographs for the board and all that because we couldn't just hire a photographer in backgrounds and get everybody looking the same, but there you are. You can see their faces, so you'll recognize them. I'm sure you know them. You might not put a name to the face before. Contact details are there for every member of the regional team. Do not hesitate to contact the regional team about anything whatsoever. If we don't know the answer, we will pass it on to somebody who does know the answer, or we will get the answer and come back to you. There's also a contact page on the regional section of the website where it just randomly comes to me and I contact people. And I do get quite a few inquiries, but our details, my number's on there, the rest of we all have a number on there. But I would just ask you, please, if it's something that can wait to 8 o'clock in the morning, don't be ringing after 11 o'clock at night. It wouldn't be the first time I got a call at 1:45 in the morning, believe it or not. But you know, you can't switch your phone off. So regional team details are there. Validate their license. At least once every 5 years. I would say more often, your birthday or Christmas or something. Now, people are looking at the bottom of that slide and saying, why the hell is there a cabbage cream egg there? And why does it say revalidate, revalidate, revalidate? So this year, because I had a big push from the Spectrum manager, what do you call him again, Steve? His name's just Murray now. We're getting to the stage again where I'm not saying it will happen. Ofcom may do a process like they did before and decide to revoke some licenses if they haven't been revalidated. They may not. What I do know is Ofcom updated their database 3 years ago a lot of people did re-register. If you haven't re-registered, you need to re-register on that website. If you use the same email address you used 5 years ago, it'll all come back up again. Revalidate, revalidate, revalidate. So the first major rally, well, actually, I think the first rally was February, as you would know, Ballymena. I pushed the message across, and if somebody come over and talk to me about revalidating my license to get a Cadbury Cream egg, I done the same at the March at the Lagan Valley. I went and bought a box, and I mean a box of Easter eggs. And if they said they had, or they thought about it, or they'd spread the word, they got a Cadbury Cream egg. Now the president was over, and I think the president must have took about a quarter of the box with him because he's partial to a cream egg, but that's another story. And it would have happened at all other rallies up through this year, but unfortunately they were cancelled. But I will send the message: revalidate, revalidate, revalidate. Guys, you will be glad to know that's probably the end of me preaching that piece, but I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to get your news items on the GB2RS and Radcom, and how important it is to keep your club details up to date. Okay. Now, I will hand over to Steve Thomas. These are a couple of things, there are more, but these are a couple of current things that are going on within the Society for Clubs and divisions and whatnot. Over to you, Stephen.
Oh, don't leave the slides up. Just show me what the slides are and I'll talk about them when they come.
Right, well, I'll put the slides up and you just talk about them.
No, I want to see everybody while I'm talking to them. So just.
Oh, you can't see everybody?
Well, I can, but they're over there.
Right, okay, I will stop sharing and I will just.
And
yep.
If the right things are mentioned, then pop up one.
Well, they probably are, but there's probably more. You could probably talk better than some of the information I put in the slides. I stop sharing.
There we go. I can see everybody right in front of me now. Right. Anybody want to ask Philip anything about the regional activities before I talk about some of the national stuff?
You can just keep a note and ask at the end.
Or have they heard enough from you already? But
no,
now it starts to be interactive, right?
Right. Okay. Come ahead.
Steve, before you leave Philip's little presentation there, how to revalidate, a very nice little reference in RSGB news in Radcom.
Yeah.
Shouldn't that be really headlined up on the website?
Funnily enough, I was looking at it about 2 hours ago. So there's a draft version there, which is almost ready to go.
Okay. Yeah.
But we've put that out so many times in the past, and it is on the website under Revalidate, and there's a copy of the Radcom article on the website as well under that section Revalidate. But we're going to improve it a little bit. So it is all there, and even a PDF of the Radcom article. So, but it is tremendously important. So yeah, it's there, but there's more coming. Anybody else want anything on what Philip said?
Yeah, I'm just going to post, if funnies use your chat, I'm just going to post a link in the chat now to everyone, where it is actually on the RSGB website at the moment. And if you still have an old Radcom, February 2018, page 56, there's a full page there about revalidating. But as Steve says, it's about to go live, isn't it, Steve? The new information or whatever.
Well, sometime soon. I was talking to Murray about it a couple of hours ago at most. Anyway,
right.
Okay. So,
anything else anybody wants to ask?
Okay.
No.
So the rest of this stuff is interactive. You can ask me anything you want and whenever you want as well. All right. So I haven't prepared any of this because it's all topical stuff, and I've got a few things up, just bits of the website up here in front of me. But I want to say first of all the effect that the pandemic has had on the RSGB and on amateur radio. So when the end of March came around, we moved the staff out of the office, and it will prompt me to give you some stats as well. So the RSGB is 16 staff in Bedford. That's all we've got. But there's a great number of volunteers which we couldn't do what we do without. So 16 staff, and quite a number of those are part-time as well. So, but then there's about 300 or so I call them direct volunteers. That includes the regional team and the committees and the teams and the board and everybody, because the board's volunteers as well. And then outside that, we go to about a total of 850 volunteers if we include the people in the clubs, that the exam secretaries and the registered assessors and the people that do training. So you can really think of the RSGB as being about 850 people. We know that number because we send them out a volunteer badge every year. So it's around that number. So when the pandemic started, we moved all of the staff to working from home, and we're still doing that now. So everything that's been going on in the last 3 months has been going on with everybody working at home on their dining room tables or wherever they work. But we've managed to carry on, which has been, well, from the inside, it's been quite amazing that we've managed to carry on the service. So what we started to do at that point, we were approached by the NHS to do a campaign with them, which I hope you've seen, the Get on the Air to Care campaign, which has now turned out to be the largest media campaign the RSGB's ever run. And we have reached an enormous number of people. I mean, huge number of people. So I've done a few radio interviews. There's been some items on the TV. We got amateur radio on the front page of the BBC News website. That is huge, and that is what your National Society has been doing to do two things: to raise awareness of amateur radio with the people that have maybe never heard of it, which is important, and also to remind people who used to be radio amateurs that it's still there, and we are seeing a huge number of people coming back to amateur radio at the moment. In this last 3 months, it's been amazing. And we've also done it to remind those people like us that are already radio amateurs and we're still active, that during everybody being locked down at home, it's a great idea to get on the air, talk to all your friends, keep in contact, like exactly like we're doing now, or do it on the radio, you know, local club nets or on DMR or whatever your flavour is. That's and to try new things in amateur radio as well, because while you're locked down at home, that was important. So that whole campaign was put together with all of those things in mind, and it has been phenomenally successful. We've seen a huge increase in the people doing online exams. When this first started, we had to stop doing exams because no clubs could run exams anywhere. But what was created then was the ability to do remote invigilated exams. So that's where the person looking after the exam monitors the person taking the exam using a webcam, just like we're doing now. And we've had a huge number of people take that. It's increased and increased and increased. And we've, I think we announced last week that we'd gone over 1,000 people had taken the foundation exam during the lockdown period, right? Just enormous.
The 1,000th exam happened on the 1st of July.
There we go. Thank you. I thought that went out. And we've got some more news to come out about that in the next few days. But that number. So what we normally see in a month, if I read you sorry, I've got to put the glasses on to read the screen. So if I find the exam section of what I'm looking at here, what we saw this is just foundation exams, because we've only really done this for foundation. We will be doing intermediate very soon using this method. But at the moment, we had 113 foundation exams in April. That was only for part of April because we only introduced the remote invigilation partway through. And then in May, we did 309. And in June, we did 562 foundation exams. So it'd gone up that. Now that 562, we're talking 4 times the usual amount of foundation exams in a month. And that's using the online remote invigilation. So that's people that are locked down at home, being allowed to come into amateur radio and take these exams remotely. So that's been hugely successful. But we've also seen a very big increase in the people coming back to amateur radio as well. So if your license has lapsed, you go to Ofcom, you fill in their form, you give them some evidence that you've been licensed before, and they'll reissue your license for a fee. Where people haven't been licensed for many years. Perhaps they've lost their exam certificate. They haven't got a copy of their license. And we can give them a copy of the call book page, the yearbook as we call it now, which shows them as being the holder of the license. And then they can go to Ofcom. And we have been doing a huge number of those. So that's bringing people back into amateur radio. And there's that's a combination really of I think the media campaign to remind people it's the situation where people are locked down at home and they're looking for something to do and they remember amateur radio. So we've been trying to put it in their minds that they might want to come back. And that has been phenomenally successful. It really has. Now we are in our strategy, the RSGB strategy on the website. There's I think eight or nine different priorities that we were going to go for, and two of them were growth of amateur radio, and the other one's membership. So as Philip said before, the RSGB is very definitely a membership organisation, and we've been seeing increase in members. I'll touch on that in a sec. But we're also very keen on driving the growth of amateur radio. So that is absolutely important to us. And providing these exams definitely ticks off that growth of amateur radio. Membership has been good on the back of it. We're now at very close to 21,500 people. That's the highest membership that we've seen as a society since 2011. So things are going really, really well, and it's very, very positive. It really is. And we get some really good stories from those people coming back into amateur radio, that when they come back into it, they assume nothing has changed. And what they see is new technology, the DMR, D-Star, Fusion, FT8, all of these things have come in since they were licensed last. So while we're in it, we think it just sort of moves along slowly. But when you stop for a while, you come back, they're seeing some big changes. And it's a good reminder for us that amateur radio sort of keeps pace with technology, sometimes leads it as well. So all the way through, we're very close to wireless technology, whatever that may be. So a lot of the great things are attracting people to come back into amateur radio. So the digital modes, satellites maybe, or digital TV, microwaves, all of these things that are at the cutting edge, they are attracting people to come back and give it another go. So membership, highest we've seen since 2011, which is immensely good. We're really, really pleased with that. The other things that we've been doing, because the society's effectively been locked down, we've been running a lot of internal meetings this way, but we've been encouraging clubs to engage with all of their club members over the air or through webinars, whatever they do, but send things into us. You might have seen the front cover of Radcom an issue or so ago with all the photographs on the front page. And that was really, we said, send us in what you've been doing while you've been locked down. And we had a tremendous response to that. And we've tried to put a lot of those on the website as well. Under the Get on the Air to Care section, you can see what clubs have been doing. You can get ideas for what people have been, where they've been appearing. People have been appearing in the media, on the radio, on TV. We've tried to capture all of those just to show people how interesting people have found amateur radio over the last few months. We've been running our own series of webinars as well. Dave, honestly, we didn't steal your idea where I've lost you. There you are. Right?
Lies, absolute. No.
We honestly didn't. It took us a while to get it going, but we run it every other Monday night at the moment. So you can go to rsgb.org/webinars to see that. So we call that tonight at 8. See, that's why we didn't copy you. We don't do it at 7. We do it at 8. The names are changed, right, to protect the guilty. That's been going really well. We've been with some help of the Norfolk Club, with some of their facilities, and we've been running that webinar live streaming on the BATC, British Amateur Television Club website, because they've offered their facilities to clubs during the pandemic as well. So we thought we'd love to take advantage of that. And we've been streaming out to YouTube as well and taking questions on that. And that's been really, really successful. I think the last one we had about 350 people watching it live. And then within a day of the video being up the next day, we'd had something like 1,500 views of the YouTube recording as well. And I haven't, that was just after a day. I haven't looked recently, but, you know, we've had a couple of really good speakers on there. It's fantastic. Which reminds me, our YouTube channel. So the RSGB operates on Twitter, on Facebook, and on YouTube. And we've got well over 100 now videos on YouTube, which clubs can use, individuals can watch, clubs can use for club nights if they want to. There's some on there that are introductions to amateur radio. And there's a lot of societies around the world have asked us if they can use it and dub them into their own languages. And as long as they keep the branding on it, we're very happy for them to do that, as long as they let us know. But our videos have gone around the world now, they're well thought of. But we also put on there the very good talks that we have at the convention every year. So you will find a lot of technical topics on our YouTube channel, immensely popular. Philip mentioned a scheme that we started recently called Beyond Exams. And this really is aimed at...
I got the slide up, but I didn't get myself.
It's okay. This really is aimed at trying to encourage people to try new things and do more things to keep them interested in amateur radio, because sometimes you come out of the foundation exam and you spend a few months sort of tinkering around and maybe you lose a bit of interest because you're not quite sure which way to go. So beyond exams, there's an individual scheme and there's a club scheme, and that's really aimed at giving people a few targets of things they can go for, try something new, and they can get awards in the process. But what we really don't want people to do is come through the foundation exam, spend a couple of months, disappear, never come back to amateur radio again. So that's one way. But I will pause for breath in a second, I promise. But if there was one thing I'd really appeal for everybody to do, that is, as we're seeing so many people coming into amateur radio at the moment, remember, 1,000 new people in 3 months, right? That's foundation licenses, so they have not been on the air before, 1,000 new people in 3 months. I would just encourage everybody to help and support those people as they come into amateur radio. Let's be the friendly group that helps them, looks after them, and turns them into, keeps them into amateur radio into the future. We're going to try and do that, but we want absolutely everybody in clubs and every amateur really just to give everybody a welcome, bit of support, realise they've come into amateur radio at a difficult time, but they've done it because they really want to. So let's all get behind them and look after those folks when they come in and keep them interested. And I'm sure they will enjoy their journey in amateur radio like the rest of us have. So that's some of the things that are really topical. I'm only talking about the last 3 months.
Steve, can I just elaborate a wee bit on the Beyond Exam scheme?
Hmm.
At the VLT meeting, which is Volunteer Leadership Team, which Reason Forum and all the other lead volunteers go to, well, we don't go to now, it's held remotely. It was announced that at that date, which was what, 3 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, Steve?
Yep.
There have been 30 clubs signed up for Beyond Exams in 10 different regions. Now, there are clubs in the process of signing up in the other 3 regions, but there are 2 clubs currently in Region 8 who have signed up. That's the Mid-Ulster Amateur Radio Club and the Bush Valley Club. Now, if any of you are members of any other club, you want to know more information, there is information on the website, but if you contact myself, I will give you further information on how the club can actually sign up to the Beyond Exams. One of the good things about the scheme is there's a lot of opportunity there for inter-club working, inter-club activities. Mm. You might have an expert in Mid-Ulster Club who's an expert or very good at amateur television or satellites that could assist or deliver something to, let's say, the Latvian Club, for example, in Fermanagh. They're looking for somebody to speak or do a wee program on satellites. And it's all about, there's a good bit of it's not, the Beyond Exam scheme is not meant to be competitive, if you like. It's, you do so many different things and you tick them off, and you, as Steve said, you get certificates and awards. But the best thing I think about the whole Beyond Exam scheme is the individual scheme. as members of the club or not, if you're not a member of the club or you're newly licensed, like Steve says, there's a whole lot of wee things there and tips there of wee things you do and tick off and get certificates or awards if you're into awards. But it gives you an essence and a sense of the practical side of amateur radio, which unfortunately people aren't getting at the minute with clubs not doing, well, not the clubs aren't doing any training, some are doing virtual training, but you're not getting a hands-on experience before an exam that you would normally get. Now, people will say, oh, years ago we didn't do any practice. But I always say to people going for the foundation, you only need to know or only need to learn what's in that book to pass your exam. You will learn everything after the exam. And this just gives you a list of stuff to do or take part in. And it's great. I think it's a great, great scheme. So anybody that's a member of any other club, I would encourage you to ask your clubs. Even, I see there's some people here who aren't from Region 8. Encourage your club, if you're a member of the club, to sign up to the club scheme and even take part or encourage newcomers, if you know of any, to sign up to the individual scheme. Sorry, Steve. Walk away. There you go. You got your breeze there now.
I was pausing. I was just looking up who the next one on our webinar is, and it's on Monday, the 13th of July. And John Rogers is talking about VDSL interference. All right, so that's extremely topical. Philip wanted me to come back to the reason we had that front cover on Radcom on his slide. So that's the big push for people to report their VDSL interference, help people understand what it is, whether they're suffering from it, help them report it as well. And we actually, one of the things we did during the Get on the Air to Care campaign was we actually put one copy of Radcom out as a sample edition, which was the current one. That's the first time we've done that. Normally it's, we update it about once every year or something, and it's a historic copy. So people can, if they're interested to see what Radcom's like, they can read that one. But we actually put the current one up. A couple of reasons. One, we were experiencing problems with delivery that month. The post office were struggling. So if we put that sample version up online, everybody could see it. The second reason was because radio amateurs were locked down at home, we wanted to support them, or anybody interested in amateur radio. So making the current edition available seemed like a good idea. And the third reason was because it included the VDSL campaign, and we wanted to get that in the hands of every radio amateur, whether they were a member or not. So Philip did ask me to come back to that one. That's the story on that. Anyway, so John Rogers will be presenting on Monday night at 8 o'clock, Monday the 13th, about VDSL interference. So that might be one to put in your diary.
Steve, he is on the schedule to do a lecture. So we had him first. So that's something else you've copied us on as well. You know,
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. He's doing it with us on the 13th. Anyway. That's the trouble with good speakers, isn't it? They're in demand. That's definitely the truth.
I think we've a link here somewhere. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Now, so that's really the things I wanted to go over. So tell you about the lockdown situation. I might tell you a bit more about that actually. While we had everybody working from home during that first month, and it still continues, we had lots of problems with book deliveries and things like that. Doing that many exams means there was good sales of the training books. But of course, that's when the postal system was struggling, and our warehouse company was struggling a little bit just to get going. So half of our office has been turned into a warehouse. We've got books stacked everywhere now. Normally they're not in the office at all. RSGB offices are just sort of 2 stories on a business estate. You know, it's that. But downstairs at the moment looks like a warehouse. Lots of books. We've been shipping stuff out from there. We spent quite a few weeks doing just what it took to get the job done, you know, in whatever way you could. And I have to say the staff were absolutely brilliant and continue to be while they're working from home. And then the people that have been helping with the online invigilation exams, they've been absolutely fantastic. And that group of people have brought 1,000 people into amateur radio. So I cannot say enough about all of those people. I really can't.
How many invigilators do we have now, Steve? I know it was 2 at the last count I had.
Yeah, it's still about that. Yeah.
So take a bow, Dave.
No, you're right.
I've
22 with a few more still sort of coming on board, I think, at some point. But I think that'll maybe increase as time carries on.
See, and I wasn't even looking at you when I was saying that just now. It was, you're part of that team, aren't you? But it's I think you'll agree it's a pretty good team, isn't it?
Oh, fantastic.
Delivering some awesome stuff for amateur radio at the moment. They really are.
From 9:30 in the morning through, I think the last exam starts at 7:30 in the evening.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole day, all day, every day.
And we are getting some fantastic. We're getting some fantastic feedback about the way people taking their exams are looked after and helped and supported. Everything like that.
As if you ever doubted, Steve. As if you ever doubted.
Never did.
Steve, I'm just going to throw one slide up here if you don't mind.
And just while you're doing that,
you can explain that photograph.
Oh, okay. You haven't got the video version of it then?
No, just the still, Okay.
Well, we had a video of that guy. Leave it up for a sec. Oh, you can't do it there, can you? There you go. So we had this guy, because they've got cameras on while they're doing the exams to make sure everything's above board. There was a capture which we asked him if it was okay if we used, of him just how excited he was when he actually passed the exam. Because when they hit the button, they actually see whether they've passed or not. They see their mark, and that was his reaction. Although there is a video clip of him being very excited about having passed his exam. So there's some very happy, smiley people out there at the moment. Anyway, so before we paused just then, I talked about what the media campaign, which is huge, biggest we've ever run, the exams, remote invigilation, the knock-on effect to membership, our webinars, beyond exams, any of that stuff. Ask me anything you like about that. I'll tell you what I can remember. Or if there's anything else you want to know about how the society works, shout now. Do not be shy. There's only, how many people on the call? There's not many. It's only us.
It's 24. I'm just going to share another slide here, Steve.
You never let them ask questions, do you?
No, but just in case anybody wants to take this down, this note, I want it on the recording too. So I spoke about beyond exam, or Steve spoke about beyond the exams, and I put it in. So that's the coordinator. If you don't want to contact me for any whatever reason, that's the beyond exams coordinator, Chris, G1BDP, and that's his address. But I'll point you over to this wee quote that I like using. If you can see that, it's from Benjamin Franklin. Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I may remember. Involve me and I learn. And that's very apt to me coming on amateur radio. I think it was 19 years ago. I learned what I had to learn to get through the exams. Boys taught me, and I remembered to get through the exam. But it's like anything else, and anybody that works in IT knows, if you don't use a piece of software regular, George will vouch for this, you forget. But if you involve that person, you will learn. I know it's not for other people too, but especially myself. The more I do hands-on, the more I do practically, the more I learn. I can't, it's a dyslexic thing and whatnot, I wouldn't be great at grammar and spelling, but I cannot learn out of a book. I can learn a wee bit by people explaining things to me, but if I do it hands-on, I learn. And that's I think with the beyond exams and people getting involved and you getting involved with people, the newcomers, they will learn more by hands-on experience than they will ever by being taught or reading out of a book. Sorry, Steve. Guys, we'll take a few questions and
we'll
give a final answers and whatnot, and then we'll switch on the recording. We can talk about what we like.
Let's just check, Philip. Is that all you've got? Is that you finished?
The way to say the other slide was the media campaign. Get on the air, they can promote and visualize it beyond its channels.
Let's just
basically that was us. It was just prompts. There is one slide I'll talk about near the end, but
Steve, being the boss, if you want me to mute him anytime, like you outrank him, I can mute him anytime you like. You know,
I'm going to mute now. We're going to take questions.
Folks, if anyone has any questions, because Steve has asked about 10 times now, feel free. You can unmute your mic there and work away. The only thing I ask is, if you're going to ask a question, just tell us your first name first and your call sign, and then you can work away. So,
Steve, can I ask one question? It's Camille GI1XPV from the Ballymena Club.
Oh.
You were saying about the 1,000 new recruits to the hobby.
Yep.
Have you any idea of a breakdown by age?
We have got that. I haven't got it in front of me. It is still true that there is a peak in age, and if you look at all of us on the call, the peak is still in that bracket. But we are seeing that there are some people taking these exams who might not want to go to your traditional club. So we are seeing some of that, and the average age has dropped a little bit in the range taking the online exams.
Can I jump in? Sorry, Steve. Can I jump in there from first-hand experience of people taking the exams? I've found with the exams that I've invigilated, actually, there's a lot more Kenmule of the late 20s and early 30s taking the exam, but actually I've found a lot more teenagers taking the exams, and maybe teenagers who wouldn't have been able to, through social reasons, maybe get to a club, but who've been able to excel with studying at home and taking their exams. I mean, I've done something like 28, 29 candidates, and 7 of them have been teenagers. 4 of them males and 3 of them females, you know, so I've actually found that encouraging, Camille, that there is younger people still coming into the hobby. Yes.
Yeah.
Older adults are still the most, but you know, there is young people coming in.
And that's the thing. That's the problem. That's the problem with averages, isn't it?
Was it not mentioned at VLT the average age of people coming into the hobby is still about 40 odd?
Yeah, hang on once. Yes, it is something like that, 40 to 50. And if we look at our membership age profile, it is like that. It is your classic bell curve, statistical bell curve, you know, with the peak in the sort of 40 to 60 mark. Let's say 50 is probably around the middle. But what Dave said is true. We are seeing those extra people, but the trouble with when there's 1,000, it takes quite a few of those to shift that average, doesn't it? So I think you're absolutely right that you are seeing those people, and that's what I meant by those that might not have been so keen to go to traditional clubs. You know, it's opened up a new opportunity for them. So we've got to do way more of those to bring that average down, but it is really encouraging to see those coming in. But we've seen people, you know, across the full age range. It's not that only the youngsters can cope with the online exams, because you know, everybody's, you know, doing it, because during these last 3 months there's been no option, of course. But it is encouraging to see it breaking away from just that age, you know, to broaden out a little bit.
And it's true that if we get them young and keep them, with the other schemes that you have there, then, well, not wanting to be morbid, but as the older ones drop off, we'll start to slide the average age down a little bit. That's just, I'm a teacher by profession, and it's just I always like to see young people coming in, because that's where the life is.
There's 2 elements to that. You can get them, if you get them really early, you actually get them interested in engineering subjects, don't you? So you know, we're helping the STEM activities. And then you can aim at a different group, perhaps the university age, where they've chosen that sort of activity, and you can attract them for a different reason. They're already those engineering types, so they might not have known about amateur radio. But there's another factor, which if you catch them reasonably early, in whatever, you know, fairly early age, that they might get interested for a few years. If we can keep them, great, but they might drop off because they discover jobs and mortgages and partners and all that sort of thing. And those are the ones that we're seeing coming back. You know, the ones I said we're seeing people come back. Those are the stories I hear from everybody, or not everybody, from people every day who says, well, I was interested in it 20 years ago. I want to come back into it. But in the meantime, you know, life has happened. So if you can sow that seed early, we also get those back later as well. You know, it's a bit slow burn. We'd love them to join and stay, but, you know, both are definitely, we're seeing the benefit of both activities at the moment. And the Beyond exams is definitely there to try and keep people interested and try different things.
I see Les has his hand up there, so we're going to go to him in a wee second, but I'm going to ask you a quick follow-up there question, Steve, just on that.
Yep.
Candidates are coming in. Is there a chance of including, when the certificate goes out to these candidates, by the way, your closest club is, your closest amateur radio club is, can that information be sent? Because obviously, with GDPR rules and everything else, we can't get their details without their permission, but we can give the candidates information on their local club.
Yeah.
Is that something that can be discussed at head office? That, you know,
it's already being discussed.
Right. Okay.
There's moves in place that's been discussed at the regional level, and it was discussed at the last VLT, wasn't it?
But I mean, with the certificate going out, that a note can be put in. Yes, it may mean someone having in the office a little bit more of copy and paste the details. But by the way, your local radio club is, we encourage you to make contact with them. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. As Philip said, we're already talking about how we look after those people when they first arrive in amateur radio. We send them things now. You know, we send the certificate out to them. We send them out a sort of thin magazine just to sort of get them started with amateur radio, setting up your first station, that sort of thing. So there's lots of stuff that we do. But we're looking at refining that. Of course we are. Yeah.
Great.
What they definitely need is a welcome at those clubs when they first say hello, right? Because that has often been reported to us as a bit of a problem, that, you know, everybody in the club knows each other. Somebody new turns up and they don't feel involved. I think all radio clubs need to work on that sort of welcoming, inclusion type thing.
Not in this region, Steve.
Good.
No club in this region would react to the way some of the scary stories I've heard at meetings about some of the clubs over in the
That's what I meant about everybody welcoming radio amateurs, whether you're in a club or on the air or whatever. You know, you hear a new call sign, say hello. They may be nervous. They might be making their first contact after passing their exam. Yeah, because we all remember what that was like, right?
Absolutely.
Pretty tough.
Go ahead.
There may still be some that haven't made their first contact, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. What they're on this call, you mean?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Hi guys. I'm really fascinated by the age distribution and the sudden surge during the COVID emergency. I've been on air quite a bit over the emergency being totally locked down. So talking to people about emergencies in general, one theme has come across, and that is in the United States of America, and I've got no way of validating this data, but the idea is that about half of all the radio amateurs in North America are preparing for an emergency. They're preppers. There's about 6 million preppers. There's twice as many of them as there are of us, so to speak.
Yeah.
And they spend vast amounts of money. It's a huge industry.
Yeah.
Now, if the numbers are spiking during a proper emergency in the United Kingdom, then it would seem to be a useful idea to have a special interest group within the RSGB for preparing for emergencies. And we've already got, QRP radios. You knew I was going to say that. We've got field days. We've got SOTA work, running away from zombies, getting to the top of the hill and making your call. You know, we could even make a game out of that one. Then there's the other activities that we all know and love, and lots of UHF and VHF work going on around in Northern Ireland around motorcycle racing mainly. It would appear that that kind of special interest group would interest younger people, and they may get more involved with, you know, tents and poles and wires running around, etc.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there is, of course, Raynet. I mean, I did speak to let's call him a senior radio amateur from the States once, who said they were, I think he described as unfortunately blessed with more emergencies than we are with their hurricanes and things like that. I think that was the term, unfortunately blessed. But it meant that their, I think it's ARES, isn't it, is what they call their sort of Raynet equivalent.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know, that they had a lot more sort of activities or, you know, things to prepare for. Philip actually knows far more about Raynet than I do. So do you want to take that one, Philip? The sort of things that Raynet do, because Raynet is now its own separate organisation, Raynet UK.
Just because I was on the committee that done the transition, so there used to be two Raynet groups in the UK. There was the RSGB Raynet group, and there was Raynet UK. And a couple of years ago, they all merged into one. We do have quite a good Raynet group in Northern Ireland. I did share the slide. I'll just share it again, so the contact details are there. And that was the slide I was going to share at the end. And you're quite right, Les. Traditionally in Northern Ireland, the main things that Raynet covered were motorcycle racing. But we do cover marathons, walks, endurance cycling, whatnot. Raynet NI West is probably one of the most active, reaching out to the community, where they do a whole lot of other events. But it had been mainly motorcycle racing, and there's no events happening, as we all know at the minute. But Raynet NI, we're all Raynet UK now, but you have the Raynet NI Belfast and Down group, Northeast group, South group, West group, and Northwest group, and that's the contact details there for the guys. You can contact myself or Dave or Ian, I think, on this call too. We're all Raynet people. If you have an interest in that. So Raynet NI always had, before the amalgamation, always had a memorandum of understanding with Belfast Resilience, who looked after the whole resilience thing for Northern Ireland. Raynet NI West have recently, when I say recently, maybe 2 years now, have recently signed a memorandum of understanding with Fermanagh Council. So we cover that for them. There's three main areas in Northern Ireland for resilience, if you like, from a government point of view. You have Northern EPIG, EPIG being Emergency Plan and Implementation Group. You have Southern, and you have Belfast, which comes from Belfast area, and they are making inroads there. So there's, before lockdown, there was other meetings to be set up with other councils and the other groups, but we do have a good working relationship now with the councils, if you like, and with the resilience groups. You're talking about running it around and whatnot. There is now an official Region 8 ARDF committee who are in the process of getting kit sorted and organising, and hopefully in the autumn, things go according to the plan, there will be an introduction to the ARDF. And it's mainly the orienteering side of it, the radio sport side of it. So, Les, we are making inroads into things. Yeah. But if anybody has suggestions about what younger ones might be interested in, whatnot, and things, we do have contacts. John and myself and Paul Lewis, who's no longer with us. I'm not sure if Dave was here or not. Dave might have been working. We do have contacts with W5 in Belfast. And it was mainly during the Tim Peak launch, we were invited there to do that. And when Tim Peak visited, we were there too. Oh, that's right. Dave nearly poked his eye out with an antenna.
I nearly scuppered the whole UK space programme and was warned by his assistant, "Don't poke him in the eyes, don't poke him in the eyes." And it was a wee small yaggy down by my knees. So yes.
So we do have them contacts, and W5 in Belfast is now the STEM ambassador hub for Northern Ireland. So we still have them contacts. We did run an event up at during the RAF 100 thing up at the Portrush, up at the northwest at the air show. So there are things going on there, but the regional team here, we're always willing to listen to or make inroads in with scout groups, cadets, young people, schools, whatever. And as you know, and I'm going to say his name wrong, and forgive me, Kamal is a teacher. He teaches in Ballymena or somewhere about that area. It's always good to have radio amateurs within them circles. But, hey, give us ideas, and if we can make it work, we will make it work. There is some great stuff going on in other regions too. Steve can maybe elaborate on that. But we're open to suggestions.
Philip, you said, was it ARDF? What does that mean?
AR, Amateur Radio Direction Finding.
All right, yeah.
George there, GI4 SJQ is the Region 8 ARDF lead.
Yeah, like fox hunting.
Yes, basically, yes. Now, obviously, we're looking at the orienteering bit of it first, but as I said to Bob, I'm going to say Bob's name wrong too, because I'm not good at pronouncing names. Titterton or whatever his name is.
Bob Titterington.
As I said, ARDF to me means more than running about in Lycra, punching cards. It's not just all the radio orienteering bit of it. ARDF is Amateur Radio Direction Finding. So, I'm supporting the three guys too. Well, I suppose you could say it's Committee of Four, but I'm only there as RSGB support. I would hope when we get things sorted, we would run more ARDF, not competitions, events if you like, and it wouldn't all be orienteering. We probably will do fox hunts and whatnot, won't we, George? Am I putting words under your mouth now?
A bit of everything.
Yeah, we will do a bit of everything, But we're slowly getting there. And as I said to Bob on the call the other night, he says I was very enthused I was very pleased with the response from Region 8 when he put out the question about getting people in the regions to do this and whatnot. And I says, Bob, that's because the West is best. End of story.
It's a bit of QRM there coming through. So, anyone else have any other questions there? Now is your chance.
Yeah, Dave, Ian here, GI0AZB.
Go ahead, Ian.
Hello, Ian.
Hi, Mike. It's Ian here. Just a wee quick question. We've heard a lot of chat about the age profile of people entering the hobby, etc., etc. And really, really good work going on with young people. The Tim Peak in particular, the satellite link-ups with the shuttle, etc. It's really exciting to watch all that. I'm wondering, is RSGB any initiatives for, you mentioned in particular higher education such as engineering facilities, university courses, etc. But I wonder, is there any initiatives that the RSGB look at or available for clubs in universities or contact with young people in the universities? And even not maybe as far as that, there is alternative, as everyone knows now, to higher education called the modern apprenticeship schemes.
Yeah.
And they also involve a lot of engineering type facilities as well. We as a club probably get a lot of young people joining us as foundation, but because of the age profile, they do move on very quickly into higher education.
Yeah.
But it would be something nice as clubs to pass on to them. If you're going to a red brick university or any university, here's a contact to stay in touch with Radio Amateur in those facilities if there was such an initiative available.
Yeah.
And finally, is there any bursaries available from RSGB for study in higher education that would be related to amateur radio or even close to it? Thank you very much, Steve. Over to you.
That's okay.
Ian, sorry, Steve, just before you answer. Ian, do you want to declare your line of employment to Steve or not?
I've left that employment now.
Oh, Haggy, congratulations. Congratulations, but you have experience and you know things.
Well, I was involved with the career service, Steve, in Northern Ireland for 24 years.
Right.
But, somebody in their wisdom said, you might be better and promoted to something to look after animals. So I'm now working in the Department of Agriculture.
Okay. All right. Let me try and see if I remember. There are no, the RSGB doesn't offer any bursaries. The Radio Communications Foundation, RCF, that RSGB works closely with, they support something called the Arkwright Scholarship Organisation. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, that rings a bell. And
that's for sort of promising young engineers. Yeah. So the RCF sponsors some engineers through the Arkwright scheme. And then where the RSGB gets involved, sometimes we host training sessions, foundation training sessions down at the National Radio Centre at Bletchley Park. Remind me to come back to the National Radio Centre later. So we do some work that way, but no bursaries directly from us. The universities, I think, is a good place that we could do more with. Some of the, remember we ran the YOTA, Youngsters on the Air activity in 2017, I think it was. And some of our youngsters from the UK there went to university soon after that and started or restarted some clubs in the universities that they went to. So that was actually successful. So, and we do what we can to support them. I did hear of a scheme where some of the university radio clubs were sort of keeping in contact with each other. I can't remember where that went to. But close by here is Cambridge, of course, from here, and the Cambridge University Wireless Society are very active. And, you know, they pick up people in Freshers Week every year, and there's a lot of amateurs trained that way. So I think some of those university clubs can be really good, as I mentioned earlier, because people have already chosen their courses, that they might be engineering or something related. They don't have to be, but that might mean that they're predisposed to being interested in amateur radio. So it is a good place to hunt. We've got what we call a youth team, led at the moment by a gentleman called Rob Everard, G2RE, and he's working with the youngsters on our youth team, and they're looking for schemes and ideas and things that they can pursue. So if you want to drop me anything about that or any of your ideas, I'd be very happy to put you in contact with Rob, who is very actively at the moment looking for projects and activities that they could undertake to support youngsters in amateur radio.
Yeah, okay, that's great, Steve. Thank you very much. I'll drop you a wee line with a few ideas that we have. Yeah. Super, thank you very much.
And I'll put you straight in touch with Rob then, and I know he'll want to talk to you with your experience, definitely. Okay.
Okay, back to you, Dave.
No worries.
Quick question.
Yeah. Go ahead, Liz.
Is Morse declining or increasing?
It is definitely not declining. We ran the VE Day stations recently, and I think there was about 2/3 Morse and 1/3 SSB was the breakdown of all of the stations. We find Morse actually really interesting for youngsters as well. I'd said I'd come back to the National Radio Centre, didn't I, just now? So our National Radio Centre at Bletchley Park, we had 97,000 people through it last year, which was absolutely awesome. We're really happy with that. So that's introducing 97,000 people to the idea of amateur radio and telling them what it's about. But some of the volunteers there, one volunteer in particular, makes some Morse keys out of a cable tie, a couple of drawing pins, a battery and a sounder, and he gives those out as kits to the kids that come through, and they absolutely love it. And I think, I've got a feeling, Philip, you had some of those kits, didn't you?
Give some to Bush Valley, John,
Yep.
what do you call them? What's his name? Works with the cadets, the scouts.
Robert Pinkerton, you give it to.
Yeah, that's right, Ian. And I also still have some Les. Now, if the club or anybody was going to do a wee project, we used them. I mentioned the RAF 100 event up on the air show. I got them to that, and they're amazing. Quite easily put together. They're called the Snail Morse kit.
Yep.
It's a couple of cable ties, drum pins, wee bit of board, sounder, battery pack, and whatnot. If you don't mind, I'll just tell a story about that, which blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. And now, there has been over the years a big sort of thing about attracting youngsters and attracting young people down at your radio. Okay, we can do that. We'll plant the seed. Now, they may not come in damage your radio. Yeah, there's the toothbrush Les has. I think it's a toothbrush. But you plant the seed, they will go away. They may come back and damage your radio later on. It's all about raising the awareness of amateur radio. If you're at a public event, should it be your Lurgan Park thing or whatever you should normally do, Dave with a trailer, or any other event as a club, the best way to attract people, and especially young people, to you and to your stand is with Morse code, CW. Let them send their name in Morse, give them a wee postcard size thing and say you've sent your name in Morse, whatnot. They love it. It's all to do with their. Declan could probably explain better, him being a doctor, but it's all to do with the way they hear Morse and whatnot, and they just can pick it up better than us. So we were sitting up at, Dave, I think you were there that day. We were sitting up at the air show outside the big stem tent and whatnot with the Mid-Ulster trailer. Paul Lewis borrowed the Mid-Ulster trailer. He had the G or whatever 100 RAF call sign, and we set up a thing and we were promoting amateur radio with a lot of publicity there. And a couple of tables set up where with the stuff scattered around to make the Morse kits, but some of them sort of pre-made to show kids. This young girl come along and me had started making a thing, and I handed her the Morse sheet so she could send her name. She slid it back across the table at me. I thought, you're a wee bit arrogant, like. She started tapping out Morse and the snail Morse key, like Morse I have never heard in my life. This girl must have been 14, 15. Just blew me away. I says, what? Conspires that she downloaded a Morse code app on her phone. And she had it about a year, 18 months. And she could send Morse better than any amateur I ever heard in my life. It was amazing. I says, here, you need to learn more about amateur radio. Go in and look on this and thing. You're excellent. It just blew me away. So, you know, but Morse code and CW is the thing that will attract people to a stand, a public event or whatnot. I've always preached about it. We get special event stations and whatnot. You get a group of amateurs sitting on a tent somewhere, or at a village fete, or a farming society show or something. Now, I'm not saying this happens everywhere, Ian, because I know how you run your churches and chapels on the air, so run excellently. And all they're interested in is making contacts, and as many contacts they have made. They're sitting with their backs to the public. That's not what a public event or special event station is about, guys. It's about showcasing amateur radio to the public. But enough preaching for me. But Morse code is not in decline, Les. Let me just tell you that. And as Steve said, I think, yeah, that was in that call the other night. 2/3 of that whole event was Morse. Yeah. It's definitely not in decline, I know. Sorry, Steve.
I can't see what you're holding up, Les.
It's an app for Morse.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Steve, just
yeah, it's called
your green screen's
Morse
getting
Toad.
it.
All right, Morse Toad. It's called.
Yeah.
There's a little toad there.
Right. One more.
Look it up.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's just it's a game. It has accelerating requirements to get higher points, etc. You start playing this game. It's like a primitive Space Invaders, I guess.
Sure.
But by the time you finish the game, you're at 15 words a minute.
Yeah. Excellent. One more story on the snail Morse key. There was a young girl that went into the National Radio Centre, and they handed her one of the kits to take away because she'd shown a load of interest while she was there. She took the kit away, and then I had an email from one of her parents saying that the instructions weren't included. So I had no problem. I just found the PDF, sent her off the instructions. And then the next day, I had an email from the 10-year-old girl, I think she was 10, thereabout, which was actually all in Morse code, dots and dashes in the email, saying how grateful she was and how much she loved it. She built it, she loved it.
You had to get somebody else to read it for you?
No, I didn't. And but we then asked if we'd have permission to print that. We printed it in Radcom. But it's those things that make the whole thing worthwhile. It really is. You know, when you get that, some young girl typing out Morse code to send me an email, it's spot on. Right? Couldn't be better.
Steve, while we're waiting on the next question, obviously, I want to ask you, you're the general manager of the RSGB. The office is in lockdown. How does your day compare at the moment? Like, what time does it start at? How many meetings are you in compared to before lockdown?
Well, I've described it before as it is not a 9-to-5 job, right? The office is open 8:30 to 4:30, and the job does not. The amateur radio tends to happen outside those hours, doesn't it? Right. So there's the business side of it, which is the same as any business. You know, RSGB's turnover of sort of 1.5 million or so. But remember, we're a not-for-profit organisation, so everything goes back into amateur radio. That's what it is. So running that business is a full-time job. But then we've got so many volunteers, and all those meetings with the volunteers happen in the evenings, at weekends. And that's when. And so if we're at rallies, of course, there's been no Friedrichshafen, there's been no Dayton. You know, there's all of the things that have been cancelled. So this year's been really different. But normally all those things happen at the weekends or in the evenings. So yeah, the day tends to expand even when we're in the office. But of course, then I've got a change of location because you come from office to home. But at the moment, it starts pretty early and it goes on pretty late. But there's many positives. The biggest positive is the number of people coming into amateur radio at the minute, right? Bar none. That is the biggest positive. But the other positive is that clubs are meeting like this, and I get the opportunity to join. And I drop into the odd. I dropped into the Denby Dales one the other night, and it's great fun just dropping in and saying hello. And I usually ask beforehand, if it's all right. But
you're always welcome here. I'll stick you on the email list.
Steve, you didn't ask for this one. You were told you had no option.
I know. I realised that. Yeah.
Have we any other questions there? And then we'll maybe think about moving on.
I want to say hello to Terry. There,
oh,
Terry's got his hand up. I want to say hello to Terry because I spotted him doing it with him.
Hello, Steve, and hello, everybody.
Hello,
You've mentioned here and at Denby and other places in my earshot, beyond exams.
Yeah.
I haven't really read anything about it. Maybe it's because I haven't opened the latest volume of Radcom. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I have, but I haven't seen any detail. How far in the gestation is that? What's happening? And the reason I ask this is because we in the Medway Club get a significant number of people through the foundation, but us, and I think it's true of Essex as well, the people who go through foundation go on the air with a handheld and a rubber duck, and sort of 2 months further down the line, they've all been told that they don't have enough audio, and we don't hear from them again. So I'm hoping that there's some way of telling people, look, it's not all about talking to people, it's about doing things and enjoy talking about what you're doing and listening to what they've done. So build on that, please.
Okay, so Beyond Exams launched a few months ago. I can't remember exactly when. As always, all the information's on the website. So you can go on there and you can have a look at there's an individual scheme, there's a club scheme. So you can join together as a club and clubs could administer it, and they can issue awards based on what people have done. But the whole idea really is exactly what you spoke about just now, that people come into amateur radio, they buy a handheld, they think, and it's so much more than that. So Beyond Exams is a start, and I'm sure we're going to build it and add things to it. We call it Beyond Exams. It's also called Building Experience, as part of the scheme. So it's not just for the newly licensed. It might be for the people who want to try something different as well, because we've got in our strategy, I mentioned growth and I've mentioned membership. There's another topic in there called diversity, which is actually the diversity of amateur radio is what it's all about. There are so many things to try. We made a video a couple of years ago about the breadth of amateur radio, and I know your son Rob was in it, and he said, I'm trying to remember the words he said in there, but if you get bored with amateur radio, don't worry, because there's so many other things in amateur radio to try. You do one thing, that is one tiny part. There are 1,000 other things to do, and it's absolutely true. And Beyond Exams is one of our attempts to try and do that, and just encourage people to go and do a few things. So definitely have a look. It was in Radcom. I can't remember which issue. It will be behind me somewhere down there. Yeah. I've had to sort of cart some of my office to home here so that I can answer people's questions during the day. And I'm ashamed to say I haven't got one of those fancy bookcases behind me that everybody has for the news interviews and things. They sit on a pile on the floor behind me. So, but it has been in Radcom. Have a look. But it's going to grow on the website. I'm sure it will.
I've not heard of anything locally that anybody is doing. And when you think that, Medway is not particularly prolific in its output, but Essex is. Yeah. And I haven't heard Essex talking about it on their weekly net either.
All right. It's been launched out to the regional team. So the regional team should be working with their local clubs.
He's in Region 12, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is. Kerry, I'll find out the information, pass it on to you. Now, Region 12 is a big region, so whatever club or clubs are involved in Region 12 may not be close to you. But encourage, as I said in my bit earlier on, encourage your club to get involved, Terry.
Terry's in Region 10.
Oh, 10, sorry, 10. Yeah. Right, I'll look it up.
Yeah, it's okay. I should be motivated now to talk to Keith, who's the regional man, and it sounds so good. I mean, the hobby, as we all know, is so diverse, and it's just so all-absorbing. Yeah. I've got a note down here. You mentioned earlier on about lots of new people coming into foundation at foundation level, and then they may well disappear off to uni, and thus we lose them into that great world. I wonder if there's any mileage in Mayport that they are put into contact with the University Wireless Society, whatever that might be. And having said that, if they get really bitten by the bug, they may not graduate and they may not thank us.
Yeah, true. Yeah, well, there are quite a number now of university wireless societies, radio societies, and some of them have been dormant for a few years. And as I said earlier, some of the folks that went through the YOTA scheme, the YOTA activity, YOTA 17, where you were, Terry, as well with us, I know, that some of those went on and restarted their university wireless societies, where the universities they went to. So that's really good. Yeah.
Yes, that's encouraging. Very encouraging. Yeah. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, folks, what I will say is don't be going anywhere just yet. We're going to wrap this up for a second. But if you are interested in Beyond Exams, what have you, from our region, speak to, George as well there. GI4SJQ is the Beyond Exam lead for the Mid-Ulster, but any other clubs, speak to Philip and he can get you in touch with the necessary people. Steve, thanks very much again for joining us for another Tuesday night lecture at the Mid-Ulster. I still believe you stole our idea, and you're stealing our list of speakers from somewhere, but that's another matter. I would encourage you there, folks, as well.
A couple of questions.
I would encourage you there, folks.
A couple of the speakers first.
Yes, absolutely. We had them first, yes. Go on to our YouTube channel and search for the MUARC for the different talks the lectures that have been there before. We actually started our first one, Steve, out of interest here, was the Future of Amateur Radio talk that Kamal Singh gave at last year's conference. That was our first Tuesday night lecture, which this was born out of that then. We watched that as a club. So yeah, absolutely. Check out the RSGB YouTube channel as well for the different lectures and everything else there. And we'll see you next week. We actually have Mr. Richards next week giving us a talk on the technical. Yes, absolutely. The technical side of the Raspberry Pi. We had the projects and everything else last week, but we're going to go into a bit more technical issues there with the Raspberry Pi next week. So that is Tuesday the 14th. And again, we'll be kicking off at 7 o'clock for the gathering and 7:10 for the presentation. So, folks, until then, we'll see you next week. And thanks for joining us.